Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at something pretty cool. It's called Textoon. And it has to do with this style of animation you've probably seen. You know, those almost 3D anime characters, they're popping up in games and webcomics and all sorts of places. It's called Live2D.
Yeah, Live2D. It's really catching on, especially with younger audiences.
Totally. I mean, it's eye-catching. And it works really well for things like virtual influencers, too.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, it's actually super efficient. Like, it can run smoothly, even on devices that don't have a lot of power.
Which is key these days, right?
Totally. That's because it uses HTML5 rendering. But the catch is, creating those Live2D characters, well, it's not exactly a walk in the park.
Yeah, from what I've seen, it gets pretty intense.
Oh, yeah. You're talking tons of layers, complex rigging. Definitely not something you could just whip up in an afternoon. It's a specialized skill, for sure. Until now, maybe. And that's where Textoon comes in. This is what I'm so excited to talk about. Imagine you just type in a description like, a girl with long yellow hair and blue eyes, wearing a light green V-neck shirt.
Okay.
And boom! Within a minute, Textoon generates a fully rigged Live2D character ready to animate.
It does. It almost sounds like magic, right?
It really does.
But it's actually some really clever work. It's combining those powerful language models,
yeah.
The LLMs we keep hearing about, with visual AI.
Right.
So let's break down how it works. First, you've got the text parsing stage.
Okay.
That LLM. It's been trained on a massive library of text, like a huge data set, all paired with visual components. So you give it a description. It can pick apart each detail from hair color to clothing style. It understands exactly what you mean.
So it gets what we're going for. But how does it actually go from those words to an actual image? That's the part that really blows my mind.
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. You need a really good text-to-image model. And Textoon uses one called SDXL. It's known for creating super sharp images.
Ooh, okay.
Which is crucial here. Because to make that Live2D rigging work right, you need those clean lines.
Right. I can see that.
It's almost like building a puppet. If the edges are all blurry, those digital strings won't have anything to grab onto.
That makes sense.
So SDXL gives you those crisp lines.
The researchers said they tried some other models too, but SDXL was the clear winner, not just for accuracy or the overall image quality, but even for its ability to generate text within the image.
Oh, wow.
Like if you wanted a character with a logo on their shirt, SDXL can actually create that text right in the design.
Wow. You can see why that kind of precision would be huge for Live2D.
Yeah, definitely.
Every element has to be just right for the animation to work.
Right.
It's a tough balance. You want variety in the characters, but you can't mess with the structure that makes them move. But wait, there's more.
Oh.
Textoon even lets you re-edit the designs. You can actually sketch over an area. Let's say you want curlier hair, and add a text description like, make the hair curlier.
And it updates the design.
Yep.
That's amazing. So it can take the text, generate the pieces of the character, and even let us edit them, but how does it put all those pieces together? A bunch of separate elements doesn't make a whole character.
Okay, so this is where it gets really clever. It uses the template itself, the foundation of the Live2D model, as a mask to extract the pixels from each component.
Okay.
So that's how it makes it that each element, from the hair to the clothes, is accurately isolated from that generated image. It's called pixel-level segmentation. It might sound simple, but it's super intricate.
So I'm thinking, what about the parts of a character that are hidden, like if their head's turned? What about the back of the hair that you can't see?
That's where things could get tricky. It's called occluded areas.
Right.
And the researchers tackled this with in-painting AI.
Okay.
Which basically fills in those missing parts, but keeps the colors consistent.
So it's like, it can see what's hidden?
Kinda. It's more like it can intelligently guess based on what it does see.
Wow.
The paper even uses the example of back hair. Textoon can generate it realistically, even if most of it's covered up.
That's incredible. So it can generate the parts, assemble them, even fill in the blanks. But what I'm really curious about is the animation. I know traditional Live2D only uses like a couple of parameters for lip syncing, which has always felt limiting.
Yeah, you're right. That's a common issue with Live2D, that limited range of motion.
Exactly.
But Textoon, it takes inspiration from something you probably use every day.
What's that?
ARKit.
You mean like...
For iPhones, the facial tracking.
Yeah, exactly.
Our ARKit uses a way more nuanced set of parameters to capture a wider range of facial expressions, and Textoon has adopted a similar approach.
That's a game changer. I mean, think about how much we rely on emojis to express ourselves, even though they're static. Imagine having a personalized animated character that can react with subtle lip quivers, smirks, or even a slight frown.
Right. That level of expressiveness,
Mm.
it could change how we interact online completely.
Absolutely.
Imagine the possibilities for interactive storytelling.
Yeah.
Virtual assistants, it's huge.
Mm-hmm.
The possibilities are vast. And, you brought up a really good point about emojis. Like, they're so limited, but we use them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's because they add that extra layer of personality, you know, to our communication.
Right. It's like we're going from stick figures to fully fledged animated characters. And that could change everything from online education to how we interact in virtual worlds.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just imagine a virtual classroom where a historical figure isn't just a static image.
Yeah.
It's a live 2D character brought to life by Textoon.
Wow.
Students could actually ask Abraham Lincoln questions about the Civil War or have a conversation with Marie Curie about her discoveries.
That would be incredible.
The whole new way to experience history.
I love that. It's like having a time machine on your desktop.
Exactly.
And it's not just history. Think about virtual assistants. Instead of just a voice, you could have a personalized character that reacts to your questions.
With facial expressions and body language.
Right. It would make the whole experience so much more natural.
I think you've hit on something really important.
Mm-hmm.
The way we interact with technology is becoming so crucial.
Yeah.
And Textoon could be a key part of making those interactions feel more human.
More human, less transactional. Exactly.
Right.
That makes me think about interactive storytelling. Instead of passively reading a book or watching a movie, imagine a story where the characters react to your choices. In real time, their expressions changing based on what you decide to do.
It's like those choose-your-own-adventure books,
Mm-hmm.
but on a whole other level,
Totally.
and the potential goes even further. What if we could use Textoon to create characters for people who've lost their ability to speak or move?
That's a powerful thought. It could give a voice to those who've been silenced.
Exactly.
And allow them to express themselves in new ways.
And, it could even help us connect with people from different cultures. We could interact through personalized avatars that accurately convey our emotions, even if we don't speak the same language,
That's incredible.
breaking down barriers, fostering understanding and empathy.
It's amazing to think about, but with any new technology, there are always challenges,
Of course.
potential downsides.
You're absolutely right.
We have to be aware of that.
It's crucial to consider those pitfalls and think critically about how it's used.
I agree. For example, if creating a live 2D character becomes as easy as writing a description, how do we make sure that it isn't used to create harmful or misleading content?
That's a valid concern. We've already seen the potential for misuse with things like deepfakes.
Right.
It's a reminder that we can't just focus on the cool new features. We have to think about the ethical implications too.
Absolutely.
But I'm optimistic. I think if we approach this thoughtfully, we can harness its power for good while mitigating the potential harms.
Well said. So we've covered a lot, from the technical details of Textoon to its potential impact on everything, from education to human connection.
It's been a fascinating conversation,
It really has.
and I think we've just scratched the surface.
Before we move on, there's one question I'm still thinking about. We've talked about historical figures, literary heroes, people who've lost their voice. But what about creating an animated version of ourselves?
That's a thought-provoking question.
What would a digital version of ourselves even be like? Would it be accurate or just some kind of idealized version that we want to show the world?
I think it goes back to that thing we were talking about with emojis. We pick certain ones to show how we're feeling, but it's a simplified version. A Textoon version of us might be the same, like a curated representation.
So not completely authentic. That makes me wonder, would that be empowering or just another source of pressure? We're already dealing with so many images of perfection online. It's easy to compare ourselves and feel like we don't measure up.
That's a really important point, something to keep in mind as this technology gets more popular.
Yeah.
We don't want people to feel like they need a perfect digital avatar just to exist online.
Exactly. So the question is, how do we make sure Textoon is used in a good way, in a way that's inclusive, not something that creates more division or pressure?
It's a tough question,
It is.
but it's one we need to be asking.
Absolutely.
It's about finding that balance, embracing the potential of the technology, but being aware of the downsides.
Right.
We need to talk about the ethics, like we are right now.
I think that's a major takeaway from this whole deep dive. Textoon is powerful. And like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. It's up to us to use it responsibly.
I couldn't agree more. And I think it starts with education. The more people understand how this works and what the implications are, the better decisions we can make.
This has really got me thinking. I'm already imagining all the possibilities.
Me too.
Like creating animated characters from my favorite books, or even making a unique avatar for myself.
If you're curious, the Textoon project page is a great place to start. They have tons of examples and demos.
I'll definitely check it out. But before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. We've talked about all the amazing things Textoon can do. But what's really exciting is what we haven't even thought of yet.
That's the best part.
This technology is so new, there's so much potential. I bet it'll lead to things we can't even imagine right now.
It's like we're explorers, standing at the edge of a new frontier.
And the possibilities are endless.
Exactly. It's up to us to explore this new world responsibly and use this technology to make things better, more creative, more expressive, more connected.
I love that. So to everyone listening, keep diving deep, keep exploring, and keep asking those big questions. The future of digital creativity is in our hands.